In recent years, India's economic growth, military power, and innovative and youthful population have set it on track to becoming a great power. However, there's one more thing the country's politicians and diplomats believe India needs to get there: soft power. Unfortunately, India's soft power strategy is currently a mess. So, what is soft power? Essentially, soft power refers to the ability of a country to use its culture, values, and history to influence the political values of other countries and get what it wants. Unlike hard power tools like the military or economic sanctions, soft power is based on attracting people into supporting your cause rather than forcing them into it. Now, how does this work? India has used soft power to its advantage several times in its past, and especially in the era immediately after independence in 1947. Back then, India enjoyed enormous prestige as a nation that had ended colonialism and British rule to emerge as the world's largest democracy. India was able to leverage its status as an anti-colonial power to become a leading force in the developing world and set up and lead organizations like the Non-Aligned Movement. In short, India's political values and stature, and not its economic or military strength, attracted countries to it. That's how effective soft power can be. Unfortunately, India's soft power strategy in the modern day seems to have run into trouble. Parliament's Standing Committee on External Affairs recently found that despite its diverse culture and rich civilizational history, India's soft power strategy is a mess. The committee are dismayed to note that despite the existence of a wide array of soft power resources, there have been deficiencies on the part of the Ministry of External Affairs in projecting it effectively so as to achieve foreign policy goals, particularly due to lack of coordination, absence of national policy, inadequate budget, and human resources. So, why did Parliament criticize India's existing soft power strategy? There are primarily 4 reasons why. First, India lacks a comprehensive national soft power strategy. Although Parliament has repeatedly asked the Ministry of External Affairs to create a formal strategy that lays out the country's soft power goals, not much has happened. A comprehensive strategy would allow India to closely study the strategies of other countries, formulate India's soft power objectives, and create institutions that will achieve those goals. In the absence of this strategy, India's efforts to project soft power and improve its image globally have lacked a concrete direction. One of Parliament's most important recommendations to the MEA is to develop a national soft power strategy immediately. This has created a second problem. There is a lack of coordination in India's soft power efforts. The Ministry of External Affairs, Sports, Ayush, Culture, and even the Ministry of Science conduct soft power activities all on their own. These ministries rarely communicate with each other and work mostly independently. As such, there is no unified, single national effort to improve India's soft power and standing abroad. Efforts to create a unified coordinating body among ministries is only at the planning stage. Without it, there's little hope of ministries getting their act together to improve India's soft power. This leads to the third and perhaps the biggest problem. India's soft power organizations are chronically underfunded. The Indian Council for Cultural Relations, which is the country's best equipped soft power organization, has an annual budget of around 300 to 400 crores. That sounds respectable until you compare it to India's competitors. In the words of India's Ministry of External Affairs, the weakness in our system when you compare it with others is resources. You cannot compare resources. China spends about Rs 10,000 crores on just soft power promotion. Forget about the United Front Work Department, which has a budget of $2.5 billion. The United Kingdom's British Council receives a £179 million grant every year from the British government to promote the country's image abroad. Meanwhile, the ICCR's small budget largely goes into administrative expenses rather than new initiatives that promote India's image abroad. Parliament has recommended an immediate hike of 20% in the ICCR's budget. Finally, India has a human resource problem. Again, in the MEA's words, an issue is recruitment. Today's soft power projection across the world needs a certain kind of people to do it. It cannot be done either by artists or by bureaucrats. It has to be done by cultural managers who are trained in this sort of thing. But our recruitment system is such that to take such people into our soft power organizations is very difficult. In short, India's diplomats have clearly identified the problem and a clear solution, but the bureaucracy's famous red tape is holding India back. For a power like India, whose rise would be greatly benefited by a strong image abroad, soft power is a necessity. Parliament's latest report into the state of India's soft power strategy is a worrying wake-up call for India's foreign policy.